Hey guys, welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. And today I'm going to talk about my top 5 recommendations that I make for horror movies to people who ask for things to watch. These are not, we start with this part. These are not my top favorite movies of all time. These are not, these are just ones that I find a lot of people haven't seen. And so whenever people are asking about things to see that I liked, these are ones that I always recommend. Side note, I'm a huge fan of found footage films, so you should probably know that going into this relationship. I really, really like found footage films. I think that as a subgenre, they are definitely a work of art, the things that they can do. And just, I don't know, like the low budget stuff is just always super appealing. I like B movies in general, no matter how cheesy or awful they are. So I say that because I know that found footage films are they're an acquired taste. Not a lot of people really like them, and I say that because there are two in my list of 5. So my first recommendation for horror movies that I find a lot of people have not seen that I thought were phenomenal. My first one is Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth, that's one of my favorite ones to tell people to see because it's usually something most people haven't seen for some reason, and it's beautiful. I mean, I'm a huge Del Toro fan in general, but like the movie is essentially a dark fairy tale and the cruel world that is reality, and wanting so badly to no longer be a part of it because you know somewhere deep down that you don't belong there. It's very well done. Doug Jones is a couple of the monsters, and I love Doug Jones. He's phenomenal. He does a lot of work with Del Toro. They're a great team. But I think it's a very scary movie in terms of not like typical scary, like there's not like jump scares and stuff, but it's very obscure horror. There's very unique creatures, there's very crazy looking environments. But I think that more than that, it's scary because you come to care so much about the little girl that's the main character. You like I hate the bad guys all the time. Like I've met plenty of villains in movies and things that I've hated their fucking guts. But not quite like this one. And I feel like it's a really good one to just kind of like just dive into and just kind of forget about everything else and just become part of the story. It is in Spanish, so it does have English subtitles. But that's one of the biggest ones that I tell people to see. I actually had a coworker sometime last year before COVID asked me about something to watch. He's always like, what should I watch? What should I watch? So I told him to watch Pan's Labyrinth. And it took him, I think, like a couple of days to watch it. But when he did watch it, he walked in the office the next day and like clapped. He was like, that was so good. Like he loved it. So that's my number one. The other one that I highly recommend to people is a found footage film called Monster Project. Monster Project is one of it's probably pretty close to my favorite found footage film. And a lot of people haven't heard of it or seen it or even know what it is. But it's a story about this guy and his friend that make fake monster YouTube videos, like fake sighting type videos where they have like fake hauntings. And it's all fake, but they pretend like it's real and they record it and they build up like a YouTube channel. And after they decide that like that's not really working, they want to do something else, they post a video inviting real monsters to come and talk to them. And they get 3. They get a girl that is possessed by a demon. They get a very real vampire and a Native American skinwalker. And they get there, they start their interview process, and then things go awry. And it is a phenomenal movie. The effects are super practical, but they work. The casting was on point. I have one thing that I don't like about the movie, I'm drawing a blank probably because I'm trying to remember. But the guy, I cannot remember the guy's name, but he's the friend of the guy that runs a YouTube channel, and he overacts a bit. Like his reactions to things and the character portrayal that he's trying to give are a little over the top. But if you can get past that, it is a super good movie. Monster Project. I'll list all these below as well. My third is Grave Encounters, which is also a found footage film and is my favorite found footage film. I actually saw this movie several years ago now. Gosh, it's been like 8 years ago now, the first time I ever saw it. It kind of, a lot of people have heard of that one. There is more people I find that have seen that one than some of the others on the list. But Grave Encounters is very much essentially to start a spoof of Ghost Adventures. The main guy is very douchey looking, like Zach Bagans, with the spiky hair and the tan and the over the top, trying to be poetic with his entrances, like all of that stuff, and very much like him. And so, but anyway, it is about a crew that has a show called Grave Encounters, and they're going to get locked into this asylum overnight, like they've been doing, and they've never found anything. They always fake it. They have people they hire to say stuff, like, and it kind of shows this whole, like, they go up to somebody and they pay him to lie on camera, or they have an actor that comes in and pretends to be a medium and he's an actor, and it like shows all those conversations and stuff. Well, after they're locked in, they things kind of get real pretty quickly. They start seeing things, experiencing things, and it goes down here really fast. The effects, again, very practical. It's a very B film, but they're effective and they work. It's creepy, it's eerie. You feel that sense of dread that they're feeling. It's a really good movie, and I always recommend it for people. I always start either both Monster Project and Grave Encounters with, do you like found footage films? If you don't like found footage films, you may not like these. But they're both really good, and Grave Encounters is one of my favorite movies. So my next movie that I recommend to a lot of people is The Descent. That's another one that I really, really like. The Descent is a bit older, but it still holds up really well. Like, I still get a lot of anxiety when I watch it. The Descent is about a group of cave girls, friends. They have names. Like, what is it called when people do that? Spelunking? Something like that. I don't go outside a lot. Anyway, so it's about a group of friends that go to explore this cave, and they end up going to a cave that has never been explored before, and they get trapped in it, and they start to see these like humanoid creature things that are gonna eat them. It's actually a really good movie. It's got a little bit of drama. It's got the whole friendship thing. One of the, there's a tragedy that happens at the beginning of the movie, and one of them is trying to get back from that. But it does a really good job with not only the creatures and the effects and things, but creating this sense of like being stuck. Like, I'm slightly claustrophobic in the real world, and so watching these girls who are half my size climbing through these like super narrow passageways and going under things, and there's even a point where one of them gets stuck, and you're just like, it just creates such a very different feeling of dread and fear. And then added to, not only is your surroundings deadly, but there are creatures that you can't really see that well if they're not right in front of you because it's pitch black, that are trying to kill you. So it's a very overwhelming movie. The first time that I saw it, I had a couple of scenes that I had to like pause and like give myself a second because they just got to me so bad. And then I've still like, even watching it now, I feel like it's held up really well. But that's another really good one. And then the last one that I have is, and this one's a bit of a controversy sometimes because I find people either really hated this or they really loved it. And then a lot of times people love it for different reasons or they hate it for different reasons. But that's going to be the Evil Dead remake. I'm not someone that hates remakes. I love remakes. I love seeing new takes on old stories and seeing what happens. Which I'll save a lot of that blender for like when I do the series on remakes. But the Evil Dead remake was a phenomenal movie. And it's phenomenal even if you've never seen the original ones. Like, doesn't really matter. It's a perfect standalone film. You don't have to know anything about the other to watch it. But part of the reason that I recommend it is I recommend it to people who appreciate gore, and who are looking for, something a little different than like jump scares. 'Cause it's a very, it's a lot. The movie is a lot. It's overwhelming, just like the original, just with better graphics and better acting. No offense, Bruce. We love you. So that one is a big one for me. I loved that remake so much. Like, it is one of my favorite remakes that I've ever seen. The acting was phenomenal. The last girl that they added to this story, I mean, she's amazing. I loved her. I like her as an actress, but I really liked her as Mia. The gore was so gut-wrenching at times, but you just couldn't get enough of it. It was a really good movie. So those are my top 5 recommendations for people that ask me for something to watch that I feel like a lot of people haven't maybe seen. And I guess it's probably a good intro into like what do I look for in horror movies, and it's kind of a hard question to answer because I like all of it. Like I like the really cheesy shit, I really like the gory over the top stuff, I really like the bad, I like the good, the in between. Movies that fail with me a lot are movies that are meant to be statement pieces, which if you, I'm going to eventually pull my 30-second movie reviews that I did back in October, because I did a 30-second movie review for every day for the month of October leading up to Halloween. I missed like one day because I lost power and it was a nightmare. I don't know how people did it in the Stone Ages. But anyway, so I got a little messed up with that. But I'm eventually going to put all of those on the channel as well so that people who maybe haven't seen them or want to see them again, they'll be on the channel. Or people who don't use Facebook will watch the YouTube video. But anyway, so I talk about statement pieces. I did a couple of statement pieces a lot. And what I mean by statement pieces is horror that is meant to have a very deep motivation to send out a message. And that can be a message about abuse. It can be a message about other types of trauma, mental disorders, mental illness. It can be a message about all kinds of different things. An example of a statement piece would be, I'm trying to think of one that I did. That was a statement. The Babadook. The Babadook is not a horror movie for the sake of being a horror movie. It's a horror movie for the sake of showing the horror of postpartum depression, along with other things. Like it's absolutely a statement piece. And statement pieces lose me a lot because sometimes they get so focused on being statement pieces that I feel like they lack in a lot of other areas, and they just get under my skin. But otherwise, I like a lot of things. If it's meant to be a serious film, I don't mind a couple of jump scares, but you know, I'm looking for the less you show me, the more scary it is. When I saw one of the Annabelle movies, I think it was the first one, they showed the demon like way too much, and you become desensitized. You're like, oh, okay. It's the same thing with a lot of movies. So I like there to be a balance of knowing it's there, but not being able to see how much of it is there. Like that, there's a sense of foreboding with that I really appreciate. And if it's meant to be a silly horror or a more, I don't really like parody horrors at so much, but you know, I like stuff like that. I think mostly what I'm looking for is effort. If it's meant to be a serious horror film, I'm looking for story and characters that I give a shit about. If I'm watching a movie and I'm going to invest an hour to 2 hours or however long it is, I need to care about what's going on. Otherwise, why am I even watching it? Because I just end up sitting it to the end and going, well, that was an entire waste of time. I have certain actors and stuff that I don't like, but that's not really, I guess, a big deal because a lot of them don't really do horror stuff anyway. But otherwise, I'm looking for people to tell their versions of stories, whether it's a remake or it's something that they created on their own. If it's a book, if it's been a TV show that they made into a movie, like I like so many things. So you'll probably find that I like more things than most people do. And I tend to not like things that everyone loves. I hated Hereditary. Hated that movie. I hated The Babadook. Those are my two big horror bugaboo movies that I just cannot stand. So, you know, just a little bit of information in terms of what I'm looking for in horror. So, I think that's all I have. So, those are my top 5 recommendations for horror movies for people who haven't seen a lot of random things that aren't really mainstream, I guess, aren't B films. Except Pan's Labyrinth, I guess that wasn't a B film. But anyway, you get my point. So thanks. If you like the movies that I suggested, if you hate them, let me know. I want to hear about it. What are your top 5 recommendations or movies that you tell people about that you just really love and want to share with other people? I'm always interested in hearing that too. And that's all that I have. So hope you guys enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.